Hi everyone. So I want to start by saying this is about coloring glass. And I am going to talk about alcohol ink, and I know a lot of you already know about alcohol ink and have been using it for a while, but there are some beginners who do not know about it. So I'm just going to go over it briefly. But I've also been doing some experimenting with it because people have been complaining about it fading and running and being affected by the heat and also being affected by water-based glues. So just to show you quick how easy it is to paint glass with alcohol inks. Using alcohol ink really does turn out pretty, and this is actually Ashland decorative filler that already has a little bit of a purple tint to it, and I'm going to dye it this color, real dark purple. Isn't that beautiful how it comes out with the alcohol ink? All I do is mix the Ashland decorative filler, a few drops of the alcohol ink, and mix until you get the color you want. You can add more or you can add less, and then dump it out on some paper and let it dry for 24 hours, and just make sure it's real dry before you use it. And for this butterfly project, I used on clear fiberglass the yellow alcohol ink and the blue alcohol ink, and then laid it out to dry. They turned out very bright and pretty. So several people on my Facebook page have been talking about the alcohol inks fading and bleeding. And I did have a problem with this at one time fading. I've never had alcohol ink fade or bleed before until I did this one, and this is the first time that I did it on fiberglass. And the blue actually disappeared, repainted it, blue disappeared again, and I ended up doing it with stained glass spray paint, painting it on with the brush, and it's been fine. But I wondered if it had anything to do with, because it did sit in this area for a while and some sunlight does come in there, so I wondered if it had to do with fading from the sun, which caused me to do this experiment here. I took clear fiberglass and Ashland decorative filler, crushed glass, took 5 different colorants, 3 were alcohol inks, mixed them with mix the glass with the different alcohol inks, and I put them on this clear resin round that I had poured the day before. Put the glass on and then dumped resin over it. The one that has sun written up at the top, I put out in the sun for a month. So this is actually today. The one on the left is today. The one on the right was 9 months ago. And this was the one that was left in the house, not in the sun. And there's very little difference. And then here, the one on the left is the one that's been left in the house for 9 months. The one on the right is the one that was in the sun for a month. You can see some of them on the right, the ones that were in the sun, have faded, some worse than others. So here you can see them up close, and the one that faded the most, so none of these bled, except for this one, which was not an alcohol ink. This was actually the color pour. It's not an alcohol ink. I think I got that from Michael's or Hobby Lobby. But the ones that faded the most were number 2 and number 4, which was this one here, and which is also a colorant. It's not an alcohol ink, and the Ranger alcohol ink. But one of the weird things is one of the ones that faded the least, if you look at it, did fade some, but you know, not a whole lot, was this one, which is where I got the blue ink from that faded on my butterfly project. So there seems to be no rhyme or reason to it unless just certain colors fade more. Like for instance, with the Ranger, the blue here seemed to fade. Sorry, I got to pull that up. Seemed to fade more than that. So, I mean, we're not supposed to put our resin or our resin out in the sun, but if you do get some indirect sunlight and through a window or whatnot, it could affect it. Now, whether sealing it would protect it, I'm not sure. So that's probably the next experiment I should do. So the other thing with alcohol ink, somebody said to me that that one wanted to know if heat on it would affect it and make it bleed. And so this caused me to do this experiment. I just want to show it to you real quick. So what I did was I took all 5 products again that I had used previously, put some Ashland decorative filler in the cups, and put the red colorants from each of them in with the Ashland decorative filler. The reason I used red this time was because that seems to be what everybody's complaining about the most, or the pictures that they show us of the alcohol inks running is the red. So I wanted to see if I could get these to run. So I went ahead, mixed them up, let them dry overnight, and put them on the glass. And then I mixed up some resin and dumped the resin on top, and the ones at the very bottom I will talk about later. So I took a spoon and put it under the very top to tip it up so that we could see if it was running. And before I even left the room, number 2 started running. And this is not an alcohol ink, that's actually a color pigment. And that was totally dry, but it started running with the resin on it. So some people might think that they're using alcohol inks and it's really just a color pigment. This is the one, number 2, called a resin pigment, not an alcohol ink. And then the last one was running also, but in its defense, that very last one, when I looked at it again in the cup, it was not totally dry. So that's why that one ran. But the number 2, the box that I had just showed you, did run, and it was totally dry. So then I decided I was going to use the kitchen torch on them and see if I could get them to bleed that way. And I went ahead and used the kitchen torch on all of them. And again, I'll talk about the bottom ones a little bit later. And I just went ahead and went over them with the heat gun like you would do if you're trying to get rid of bubbles with the resin. And then the first one started bleeding. You could see it started bleeding. The other 2 alcohol inks, oh, that one might be bleeding a little bit. So I went ahead and went over it again, and now this is in excess. We really shouldn't need to be going over the resin this much around the glass, because the reason we would do that is to get rid of bubbles, so you just need to prevent bubbles to begin with. So again, I put the spoon under it, tipped it up, left it for 20 minutes, and came back, and they were all bleeding. So I would say yes, the heat does encourage it to bleed or reactivate the alcohol ink once it's dry. The other thing that will reactivate the alcohol ink and cause it to bleed is if you spray isopropyl alcohol on it to get rid of bubbles. And again, on the original experiment, when I poured resin over the alcohol inks, they did not bleed at all. But again, I did not use any heat on them because I was not trying to get rid of bubbles. It was a science experiment, not an art project. So in the defense of all these color pigments, they are meant to color resin. I guess that's why they were created, and it's the glass artists who decided they were going to color the glass with it. So it seems as if it would probably be in your best interest to seal the alcohol inks once you're done coloring it and it's totally dried. But then I got a message from somebody else who said that she does seal it and it still runs with water-based glues. She glues it down first and it still runs with it even after she seals it. So first I did an experiment where I went ahead and I just took, this time I'm just using the alcohol inks. So I used the 3 alcohol inks and I dumped resin on them again. And I said, well, it doesn't look like it ran. But if you look real close on this, let me see if I can put something white under it. If you look real close, there was a tiny bit of running, especially on this one here. Didn't run underneath it, real hard to see. You might miss it, but there was a tiny bit of running on that. So what I decided to do then was to go ahead and take the same alcohol inks and put glue under it and put glue on top of it. So this one I put the glue on top of, and I put a lot on top. And as soon as I put it on top, it started running. And so I let it dry for 48 hours. And then after 48 hours, I dumped the resin on it. And because I had put so much glue on it, I think it actually sealed it so it didn't run anymore. But, you know, the damage was already done. It had already ran all around it. So for these, I just put glue underneath and put the stones, the glass on top. And of course, there was no initial running at all. But after it was totally dry, the glue was totally dry 48 hours later, I tipped it sideways and I poured resin on it and it immediately started running. I did not use any heat on it at all. So it definitely does. Now this is unsealed. So this glass was unsealed. So then next what I decided to do was I was going to go ahead and seal it. So the spray paint that I used to seal it with is actually the Krylon Clear Indoor-Outdoor Sealer. And I think it's important to use an indoor-outdoor sealer. If you're having running with after being sealed, you might not be sealing it properly, or you might not be using a waterproof sealer because if it's not considered outdoor, I would think outdoor would mean it's waterproof, so it should withstand the rain. So anyway, I used this, I spread it out, colored it, spread it out, and after it had dried, I sprayed this. A half hour later, mixed it around, sprayed it again. I did this 4 times, so it's really sealed. And then the top one, I put glue on top. The bottom one, I put glue under, and this one I didn't put any glue on at all. Dumped resin over the whole thing and nothing bled. Then I took the heat gun, the torch, and went over it and nothing bled. So to me, it's pretty obvious that you need to seal it. But if you've never sealed it before and never had problems, and you're not going to seal it, the best things to do is stay away from the heat. Don't put glue under it, and make sure that it's totally dry. And it seems like the ones that are not alcohol ink, anyone who's having a problem with it running too, they could be using these resin colorants instead of the alcohol inks. So anyway, I just thought that was pretty interesting. And I had totally gone away from using alcohol inks because of everybody complaining about the problems. I didn't want to ruin any of my projects. You know, you spend so much time on a project and then all of a sudden it runs all over the place. So anyway, so if you're going to seal it, use a sealer that's water-based. So I hope this helps you. The lady that had messaged me about the glue causing her sealed glass still to run. So, and the other thing is, so it's really, alcohol inks are beautiful on the crushed glass. You can do it on this glass also. And I wanted to show you a couple things. So alcohol ink on, let me see if I can find a big piece. I colored some other glass with it, and I don't know, it looks kind of pretty. This is supposed to be red. It can be a little bit blotchy when you use the alcohol inks. I still probably prefer the spray paints. But look I took a paintbrush and I painted these 3 with the alcohol inks, and this was kind of pretty. It's a very light pastel, but you could paint it on with a paintbrush if you wanted. You'd have to do a few coats if you're, really wanting to save money and not wanting to purchase any of the spray paints. It could work. These are flower petals. There's a few streaks in them, but you could do a couple coats. So that's with alcohol ink. That's actually with the this is called the Deco-Rom alcohol ink, the blue one that faded on me, but I couldn't get it to fade any other way. So I thought that was pretty cool. So anyway, that's the alcohol ink. And so I've really just been mainly using these, I started using the Krylon stained glass because that's all I knew that there was. And but I really, really like the Tamiyas. And the reason I like the Tamiya better than the, the Krylon is because, and you would think, oh my gosh, look at how tiny that thing is. Well, because this is so highly concentrated but still translucent, it is really equivalent to this great big can. In order to get the coverage that you would on TAMIYA, the Krylon, you have to give it like 6 coats. And you have to give very light coats, and you have to make sure it dries a half hour in between. If you put too much on, it will bubble up. So, and plus, because I think all the glass artists started using this, the prices skyrocketed. I mean, I was finding it for $35 a can. It's crazy. I have a bunch of it because I bought it before it went way up and found it in different places still at low prices, but it is just really expensive. I hope that everybody stopped buying it. Now the TAMIYA is going up because everybody's buying this. And this you used to be able to get for like $7 a can, free shipping on Amazon. Now it's like $7.99 a can to $10 a can, and you have to pay shipping. So anyway, but I really like the TAMIYA, and I have 2 different videos out. I have a video out about all the Krylon stained glass and sea glass spray paints, and I have examples of all the different colors on glass that you can see. It was one of my very first videos. Then a while back I did another video with the TAMIYA and the Krylon stained glass, and I have about 20 different examples on glass for you to see the difference, and I talk about the difference and what it looks like on the glass. So that's another video you can check out. So anyway, TAMIYA, like I said, is my favorite, and they're not paying me. Krylon and TAMIYA are not paying me, but this is really cool. And I am looking into some other spray paints too, so keep posted. So, and the difference, I don't know about you guys, but I cannot find a true red in the alcohol inks, whereas this is the TAMIYA translucent, and look at how pretty that is on glass. This is the red TAMIYA spray paint. And then this is the TAMIYA translucent purple. Isn't that beautiful? Look at how that came out. It's not splotchy at all. It is just so pretty. And that was clear glass painted with the TAMIYA purple translucent spray paint. I think that is just so pretty, that spray paint. And in case you've never spray painted glass before, this is the TAMIYA purple that I just showed you, the flower. So all you do is lay your glass out and go back and forth. And I think I went over this twice. A nice even coat. And I actually went over it one more time without the fear of it bubbling up like the Krylon spray paints. The Krylon spray paints, if you put too heavy of a coat, it can bubble up. So anyway, that's the spray paints. I do have other videos out on the spray paints. I've talked about the alcohol ink. And now the newest one that I've been trying out is this Dr. Martin's Bombay Indian ink. And I did some experiments with this too. Aren't those colors beautiful? So this, I colored with the Bombay ink. I let it dry for 48 hours. I covered it with resin. I used the kitchen torch on it. It did not cause any bleeding. This one, I colored it, put glue on top, put glue under it, put resin over it after it had dried, and there was no bleeding. And that's because they are waterproof. They are color fast. They are, color fast means that they will not fade, and evidently the heat doesn't bother them either. So these come in these 1 ounce bottles that have the little droppers on them, and the droppers are really nice, and I think it has a better seal on it. I have purchased some of those, and then when I decided they worked well, I went ahead and I bought a set. And these are 1/2 ounce bottles, 12 of them, different colors. This is set 1. There's also a set 2 with some different colors in it, but I kind of feel like you could make those same colors by mixing some of these. So, so for the ones with the dropper, the 1 ounce, I believe they're about $6.99. This is $29.99 for 12 different colors. if you're wanting a variety of colors. I really like the dropper ones with the droppers. So you have to purchase, and I already have these, you might too, these kind of droppers to use with them. And I just think these are so pretty. You got to see all the glass that I colored with it. Watch this. So I'm going through this super fast using every single one of the inks in different shades, adding a little more or a little bit less, and I'm even adding some white to some of the colors and showing you the effects of that. And this is like an hour and a half of me coloring glass, so that's why I'm speeding through it so fast. But I found that the easiest way to do it is just to put a drop or so into the bottom of the cup, and then putting the glass in and shake, shake, shake. You don't even have to stir it. I just shook it up and dump it out and put it on. I put it on nonstick paper. I know the alcohol ink, a lot of times they'll put on paper towel. I just didn't want anything to stick. So this is what it looks like when it's done. And I could have got more colors by mixing different colors in that, but aren't those beautiful? I think those turned out so pretty. And I have examples of them with resin on them. In 1 minute I will show you. And the other thing I did was I took and I painted larger pieces of glass, kind of like I did with the alcohol ink, just to show you what it would look like. So aren't they pretty? Do you believe all the different colors I got from them? And you do not have to seal them like you do the alcohol inks. That's what's so great about it. Now, be careful because the Dr. Martin Bombay Indian ink is waterproof. But Dr. Martin has other inks out there, Bombay inks, that are not waterproof. So you have to be careful. It has to be the Bombay Indian ink. That's the waterproof one. So don't get it confused. And I wanted to show you real quick what it looked like when I painted it on the larger pieces of glass. I did not like it. It's very blotchy. It turns out very blotchy. So, but I just wanted to show that to you. I'd rather use the stained glass or the sprays, the spray paints. But on this, it looked beautiful. I'm going to bring them up one at a time. Look at the different colors. And so this is actually one blue, and this is it on the fire glass, just adding a little more blue or a little less blue. And that's on the crushed glass. And this one is called teal, and doing it a little bit lighter. It looks totally different on some of them on the fire glass. And this one is weird because this one's called green, but it really looks like a blue green. And this down here was the green mixed with the white. So the white is more opaque and is more like a paint, I kind of feel like. And this is the grass green. And so you could make it a little bit darker or a little bit lighter, depending on what shade you want. And this is mixed with the white. Isn't that pretty? And then here's some more colors. This is called red, but doesn't look very red to me. It looks more like a hot pink. But this might look, I think the darker you get it, the closer to red it might be. But this is all one color, just using a little bit less each time, and it turns into almost a totally different color. And this is called bright red, even though it looks orange. And I actually made it look more orange by putting a drop of yellow in it. So that's what I did to change it. And then this is also a little bit more yellow, and it almost looks gold there, doesn't it? So pretty. And then this is crimson, and this is magenta. Aren't those beautiful? I really like it, especially on the crushed glass. And then the last one that I have is the purple, the violet. Violet, and just by adding more or less, you can totally change the color of it. This is with white in it. Now this is the white. I'm going to bring you in close. See, it kind of looks like a paint. I don't really care for that. If I'm wanting white glass, what I would really prefer to do is use the Artist Loft Iridescent Medium, and that turns out so pretty. If you haven't seen this yet, this is what the Artist Loft Iridescent Medium And you pretty much do it the same way. You just mix the Artist Loft Iridescent Medium in a cup with the glass, and look how pretty that is. I'm dropping it on the floor. So I would prefer that white over the Dr. Martens. But you can use it to change the color of stuff. It's more of an opaque and it looks like paint. See, I put just a little bit of it on that to make it look a little different, but it does look pretty on the crushed glass. And then the yellow and black, you can make it into like a silvery gray if you just put a little less in, and then there's the browns. So anyway, I thought that was really interesting, and I think this is a great alternative to alcohol ink because you don't have to seal it and it doesn't fade. So I hope you guys learned something new today. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to tell you. I wanted to show you my garage sale finds. Yes, now that this place is a mess. So I left this out to remind me because look at this. So look at this. I ended up, it seems awful. I got 16 of those bud vases for $1 each. 16 $1 each. So I spent $4 and got all these. Whoops. And some of them are have the texture on them, and some of them are clear like that. So I thought that would be cool. You could make flower petals or Christmas trees or anything. And the other thing I got was this cool vase. It's orange and it is a painted vase, unfortunately, but look at that texture on there. It's not, I've seen it where there's the little bumps on it, but the bumps are on the inside and they're actually indents there. Isn't that cool? So I got that, and that was 50 cents. And I told you the bud vases were $1 each. I got this for $5 and she had a $5 price tag on it. And I didn't try to get her to go down any because I thought that was a pretty good deal. It looks like brand new. And then I didn't know, I got a necklace also. It's actually 2 necklaces. I got it for $1. And they're these little tiny flat kind of metal beads, and they're real heavy metal. I thought I could take it apart and use it for like the center of flowers. I don't know. I thought that was kind of cool. And then, I don't know if I showed you this last time. I had gotten this really neat vase also, and it's real thick and heavy, and it's not painted. It is red glass on the outside with some white glass on the inside. And this will be real interesting to break up. And I don't know if this is something special because on the bottom it says, I cannot read it. Maybe you can. And it says 8 out of 50. Like maybe there was only 50 of them made or something. And then the other thing I got last time that I didn't show you guys was this. I think I might have got this for like $1. She just wanted to get rid of it. So I'm going to try to do something where I can put the resin on the back and use that for glass. But isn't that cool? I have so much stuff in my garage, it's crazy. My son helped me put this away. He goes, do you really need any more stuff? Anyway, I love the garage sale finds. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope I'm telling you everything about all the glass. And if anybody has anything to add, I would love to hear from you. Problems that you've had with the different types of colorants. Or, and I know a couple people on our Facebook page color glass in other ways with different kinds of paints that I've heard of. So anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps the channel. If you enjoyed the channel, please subscribe. That really helps the channel. There's a place where you can click on the bell and it will notify you whenever a new video comes out if you're a subscriber. We have the Facebook page going, an amazing group of people displaying beautiful artwork, so helpful. It's anywhere from beginners to people who've been doing it for years, all different type of glass artists. Come join us there, and I hope you guys all have a great day. Thanks for watching.